Historically, the Federal Reserve has responded to this by saying, at some point they've been fighting inflation, they haven't solved it, but they're going to declare victory even if they don't really have it. This is what the book lays out once more. And they'll say, gosh, unemployment is really high, the SOM rule has been broken, unemployment is rapidly increasing, we need to stimulate the economy and get things moving. And Trump will get what he wants, rates will be lowered, and they will begin gradually. They will become more hostile if that is insufficient. They will resort to QE if that proves insufficient. Money is being printed by QE, and nothing enjoys producing money more than Bitcoin, correct. They do that after all. Thus, I believe that the 4-year cycle is still in place. Please pardon me. And the next stop, in my opinion, is 140. Here's the deal then. It's inevitable, says Larry Lepard. Money printing and quantitative easing are what we're going to witness in the near future. Here's the thing, though. We are all aware of how cryptocurrency and altcoins function during these times. It's completely crazy. However, when will this take place? How soon will tariffs be implemented? In the upcoming meeting, what will the Federal Reserve do? We all want answers to these issues, in my opinion, because there are a lot more factors at play, so it goes without saying that if quantitative easing begins next week, the markets will react significantly differently than if it occurs 2 months later. Indeed, a recession is upon us. This is unquestionably true. Indeed, whether quantitative easing is implemented or not, inflation will resume its upward trajectory. Thus, the Fed is currently faced with an unachievable job. Print money, or simply see the economic collapse. Isn't that right? Since inflation will increase in any case, they will most likely decide on a course of action that will compel people to switch to a different financial system. This is what I think will happen. I'm really optimistic about XRP because of this. The US dollar is in ruins. There is a problem with the Federal Reserve. Something fresh is needed. Additionally, investors are beginning to realize this. The popularity of cryptocurrency is beginning to grow. Furthermore, I believe that the rest of the globe will eventually begin to take meaningful action. I therefore urge you everyone to carefully consider how you would like your financial future to unfold. Do you want to depend on a flawed system that completely devalues its currency every 100 years? Or would you like a currency with a set supply that is unchangeable, one that genuinely holds and increases in value? The solution is rather obvious in my opinion. Having stated that, let's essentially develop a grasp of what the Fed will do and how we might benefit from it. Since this is most likely the most crucial component of the puzzle, let's talk about that. We would like to draw attention to the fact that if anyone has the time to listen, the second U.S. Treasury Secretary, who was interviewed by The Cross a few days ago, stated that the company is becoming a store of value and a digital gold. Does anyone think Janet Yellen would say something along those lines? No. Isn't that beautiful? He's also a gold bug. However, he is acknowledging the rise of Bitcoin, correct? He's correct too. I'm really supportive of everything they're doing, even if some people might not want to hear this. Doge is a wonderful creature. Unfortunately, I think it's a terrific idea to put America first and implement tariffs. However, as a market observer, I believe that even Trump and Bissett are not completely aware of what I believe to be a painful process that is far from over. You are unable to resolve the issues. We've been building these issues for 50 years, after all. We simply cannot fix them in a weekend, a week, a month, a year, or perhaps even a single term as president. By the end of this term, I hope we can get everything firmly set and moving in the correct path. The point, though, is that this market makes me think of '87 a little bit, when you had a terrible fall into the weekend. And if the Fed doesn't make a dovish statement, I believe there's a good probability we'll drop early next week on Monday and Tuesday. We might not. It's difficult to say. Perhaps the selling is finished after all. However, the fact remains that Trump's actions with these tariffs were obviously quite disruptive. In response, the market answered, you know what? These stocks are overpriced and the world will seem different. We must eliminate them completely. And that procedure might not be completed. Additionally, I would want to warn all Bitcoin users that a single day of non-correlation does not necessarily indicate a complete market meltdown. For example, let's assume that the market drops another 10%, 15%, or 20% the next week. It might, but I'm not claiming it will. And in that scenario, I believe it would resemble March 2020 or September 2008 when you reach a correlation of 1. And that implies that everything will collapse. People will sell, someone with leverage will own Bitcoin, and since it's the simplest item to sell, they will do so. Additionally, because they are unchangeable, gold and Bitcoin will become the life rafts. The Fed will need to respond with significant monetary stimulus if what I'm talking about happens, as my book outlines so plainly and as everyone listening is well aware. They must go faster, harder, and larger than they did the last time. That will be the huge print then. Additionally, we have two large prints, 2020 and 2008. This one, however, will be significantly larger. And after that, nothing is there to support the underpinning and the growth. Bitcoin is a sound form of base money, while gold, an older form of base money, is almost as sound as monetary debasement. We're also talking about significant financial devaluation. If, and it's only an if, the market declines as I've said, and I'd say it's maybe 50-50-ish. Let's go back to December or October of '87 if you will. Is that known as Black Monday? I believe it's either Tuesday or Black Monday. Yes, I was at the markets at the time. I was quite young. I was born in the year '83. Even though I had only been working for 4 years, I was already managing a fund and had personal funds of my own. Additionally, it was evident that the markets were extremely fragile and overbought. They then began using the dollar in various ways. The entire crisis was brought on by remarks made by the Treasury Secretary regarding the dollar. Additionally, something known as portfolio insurance had developed at that time. I'm not sure whether anyone has heard of this, but it was essentially a massive market stop loss. Therefore, the idea behind their sale to equity investors is that they would offer you insurance at a discount to the market, and will instantly stop your loss if the market declines. You take part in the positive, and if there is a negative, you will be maxed out so that you won't lose anything. Additionally, the entire strategy was predicated on the idea that a discontinuous market would never exist. That means everyone will be able to sell at a 4% discount, correct? However, the market actually surged beyond the 4%. Then all of the selling orders were activated and 4% turned into 22%, correct? Although the setup isn't exactly the same currently, there are still a number of variants. Also, I'm assuming that some individuals are reading the newspapers this weekend, and that the typical investor is checking their retirement account. Their financial advisor is being called, stating, hey, last week we kind of took a hit. What ought I to do? Additionally, it can appear similar if a majority of them show up on Monday and decide to sell. Here's the deal then. In essence, what we are currently seeing is that the markets will likely experience much more suffering than they have previously. Following a significant decline, the Fed will make a statement indicating the start of quantitative easing, and the markets will see a dramatic surge. As Trump says, it will be a long-term game with a little bit more short-term pain. He is absolutely correct in everything he says. Regarding the US economy, the S&P 500, and of course cryptocurrencies, I have a great deal of confidence in that. And I believe that XRP and possibly even HBR will be the cryptocurrency that gains the most from all of this. Since these cryptocurrencies are in a very good position to help the global public with a variety of issues that Bitcoin isn't. I am aware that Larry Lepard believes Bitcoin to be a very reliable asset. We may all agree that XRP is superior from a functional point of view, but I won't dispute with him on that point. It offers reduced transaction speeds, improved service, and of course a number of products developed by the Ripple team that provide services to major banks and governments worldwide, which is, in my opinion, far more useful. In addition to being a terrific store of value, XRP may also be a fantastic service and a functional money that is far superior to Bitcoin, which is, to be honest, a terrible development. Therefore, this is exactly what we must watch out for. We must continue purchasing all of these lows while we await the Fed's announcements, and pay attention. If we examine the Black Monday, Black Tuesday example from that era, we can see that there is a reasonable chance that prices may drop by 20, 30, or even 40% from their current levels. You can bet your bottom dollar that the cryptocurrency market could likely quadruple that amount due to less regulation, less stop losses, stopping, and other factors if the stock market can go up 22% and down 22% in a single day. You should therefore prepare for that. I'm totally prepared for anything that all of the crypto activists are talking about. I genuinely can't wait, and I want to make sure that you can all benefit from that as well. And fortunate for you all, that's really simple for all of you to do. All you need to do is register with Crypto Crusaders by clicking on my link in the description below. If you follow the 3 steps, you may replicate all of our trades and profit greatly. We just finished a trade in which we made over 60% profit. This trade basically took place over a few days. Get in there and I'll see you guys in the Crypto Crusaders group if you want to make those kinds of earnings and do really well in a month, sometimes even 400%. And gentlemen, this bull run is your chance to really shine. This is a fantastic chance. We're waiting for quantitative easing, sweetie. If you appreciate the content, hit the like button and subscribe. I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.